Hello and welcome back to Remnant 2. Our build today is going to be using the Cost of Betrayal, and I've been messing around with it since last night. I put a few hours into messing around with different builds, kind of trying it out, feeling it out, right? And it's a pretty interesting amulet, and overall I've been enjoying using it as well, even though it's a relatively, simple amulet, but the effects are pretty straightforward. It's not necessarily build defining. It's not like using something like, say, the full moon circlet, which only enhances range damage, or detonation trigger, which increases your explosive damage and then they cause burning. It's not like those where once you equip that amulet, you immediately know, like, okay, this is the type of build I'm trying to do. Instead, it kind of covers pretty much any build you want to do because the damage increase is general. Instead, it forces you to play around not using your relic to heal. So if you're not familiar with the effect, it reduces max relic charges to 1, increases all damage by 20% when the wearer has 1 relic charge, and then increases incoming damage by 20% when the wearer has no relic charges, and after 30 seconds regain 1 relic charge. So when you equip the thing, you're going to be dropped down to 1 relic charge. Doesn't matter how many you have. And then you're going to do 20% more damage. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, if you do use that relic charge, it's going to come back after 30 seconds, which is nice, so you can keep getting that 20% damage bonus. But in those 30 seconds, you are going to take 20% more damage. Now, there's several things about this whole setup that are kind of interesting, and then a couple ways that you can play around it and, and kind of like work out how to be okay. Interesting thing with it, if you run the medic's prime perk, if it's your primary archetype, is the regenerator. When you restore health, it restores your relic charge. So I tested it out with the idea of like, okay, I'm going to use my relic, which will then debuff me. So I take more damage, I deal less damage, right? All that stuff. And then my regenerator perk will go off. I'll get my relic charge back before the 30 seconds is up, and we'll see if that works. It doesn't work. Even though I got my relic charge back, I was still taking more damage, I was still dealing less damage. So even if you get the regenerator perk to work for you, it's not going to get rid of the Cost of Betrayal debuff, which is really unfortunate. I kind of wish it did work because that would make for a really interesting like kind of play style workaround. But it also makes sense where, you're basically it's a cost of using a relic. If you use a relic, you take more damage. Like that is the cost. So it makes sense why it might not work, but I kind of wish it did work. So what can we do? Like, how do we work around it? Because now you don't want to use your relic. So my first thought is to simply use a Tranquil Heart, which I think is the easiest go-to choice if you have the relic. So Tranquil Heart will just passively give you 2 health regeneration. That way you don't have to use a relic to heal. It's just passively healing you up. So that's my main recommendation for a relic. Now, if you don't have that, then you're pretty much stuck just using whatever you can. If you have other choices, specifically the Crystal Heart or the Enlarged Heart, those would be my next 2 top choices. Crystal Heart, because it gives you damage reduction when you use it, so it'll mitigate a little bit of this thing's downside. It only lasts for 10 seconds though, so eventually you're still going to have 20 seconds of extra damage, which is going to be a bummer. The Enlarged Heart, if you're going to have to use a relic, this thing is faster. It heals for 140 HP, and because we're stuck at 1 relic charge, this thing's downside is that its relic capacity is halved. It doesn't matter because we're at one relic slot anyway, so who cares? So those are my 2 main choices I would consider there if you have to have some other kind of relic and you don't have the Tranquil Heart. Now, some other ways you can work around it, you can use a combination of traits, right? Using Triage and Regrowth, giving you some amount of regeneration, along with Siphoner, using some of those to just have a way to heal up. You can use some different rings to heal you up, whether it's Ring of Grace, the Bloodstained Ring, low yield ring, whatever thing is giving you healing. Those are some other options you can look at so that you don't have to worry about using your relic or not. You could also just run the medic as your archetype, because even if the regenerator perk's not working, it's still got the skills that are going to provide healing for you. So if you have to heal up, just use one of the skills from the medic to heal yourself up without using the relic. And then you also have mods. So I currently have the Rune Pistol on, which when you use a mod, marks enemies. When they die, it leaves behind a soul brand or echo, and then you pick it up and it heals you. I was also using the Sorrow earlier. When you use that mod, your bolts come back, it heals you. And then you could even use the healing shot. So just don't use your mod if you need to get, or don't use your relic, and if you need to get hurt, or if you get hurt and you need to heal, then you just use the healing shot and that'll heal you up. There is also another way you could probably do it too, and that's to just ignore any aspect of healing you could do for yourself and have a friend with you who is running the medic or Burden of the Divine or something like that as a way to heal you up. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, you could run like maybe minions and use the like various like soul binding items. Soul Link, yeah, Soul Link, Summon Steal, Life Steal. Maybe you run the handler and have the dog do a healing effect, you know? So, I mean, there are options you could try and use to heal you up without using your relic. Now, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, the relic doesn't the amulet doesn't specifically push you towards any specific build. So I've been able to use it in a couple different ways. I've been able to use it on a status effect build. I used it on a mod build. I'm using it on like a rapid fire, like gun build. So you can kind of apply it to whatever you need it to, as long as you can, you know, sacrifice an amulet and your relic, basically. If you have no problems with those two being occupied with these things, you can use it on whatever build you want. Now, currently, I'm doing a bit of a rapid fire kind of setup, specifically using the Monarch because I never messed with it, and because the Cost of Betrayal is a Fey item, I wanted to just kind of focus my whole build and like limit myself to only Fey-like items and the Fey counselors kind of things, right? So I'm using the Monarch. It's got a high rapid fire. It's got a chain of command homing thing. It's pretty interesting. Put Bandit in there. I've got the Ornate Blade on, which has Edgelord, so faster attack speeds and stuff. Rune Pistol, like I mentioned, it's got Refunder in there, so we can get some other ammos back. The armor I'm wearing, it's a Fey Royal armor, because it pretty much matches what the Fey Council is wearing. Our relic has in the ranged crit chance, health, and ranged damage. Our two archetypes, I've got the Gunslinger as my primary, specifically so I can use Bullet Storm, and with Gunslinger as a primary archetype, it gives us 8 seconds of infinite ammo and instant reload. So we're going to use this for faster fire rate, reload speed, and instant reloads. And then Challenger as a secondary, which will have the Rampage thing for fire rate, reload speed, movement speed, and sometimes we'll go Berserk. And then the rest of my rings, I've got on the Burden of the Departed, which the whole downside is negated by our Cost of Betrayal. Burden of Departed, it reduces our total relic charges by 33%. Well, we only have one relic charge, and it doesn't reduce it, so we just get 10% more damage. And then we've got the Fey Protector Ring, because you get it from the Council. Increases health and stamina, which is just kind of nice. The reducing encumbrance, it can be nice as well. We already have Strongback, so right now it's not actually like doing anything for us. But if you have a different armor setup or you don't have Strongback, that could potentially do some things for you. The Fey Hunter Ring, because I wanted more range on my guns, even though the Challenger requires us to be up close with enemies so that we can get the maximum damage bonus. There's just situations where I'm shooting guys from a distance, and having an extra like 30% range on my guns is pretty nice. Plus it also feeds into the long shot, so I've just got more and more range on my weapons. And then I have the Sapphire Dreamstone. Critical hits reducing our skill cooldowns can only happen once every 2 seconds, but that's okay. We've got that increased crit chance from the Tranquil Heart relic slot, and just with sheer rapid fireness of what we've got going on, we're not getting a lot of critical hits, so it allows us to use our skills quite often. Now for our traits and stuff, a lot of it's my pretty standard, just like I'm in Apocalypse difficulty like traits. So Triage, Regrowth, Fortify, Vigor. Those are all my like standard I'm in Apocalypse kind of things. I did put points into long shot, like I mentioned. I kind of want more range on my guns right now. Maxed out expertise because I'm relying on these skills a bit. Siphoner is not a normal one for me, but like I'm not using my relic at all, so I wanted to use that. Handling just for the smooth shooting, and then a couple points in endurance and recovery for some quality of life. Now we're going to go ahead and start clearing out the Pathway of the Fallen. I do also have on the a maxed health concoction so that I just have more health. Like we're almost at 190. We're at 189.8 thanks to the Fey Protector Ring, our increased health slot in the relic, and you know, that concoction. And you know, maybe we'll go down in here. The Executioner dude is pretty scary in there, but you know, maybe we can take him out. Now, the Monarch is pretty fun. It's been pretty interesting. There's not much more to say about the Cost of Betrayal because what it does is pretty straightforward. You just don't use your relic and you get more damage. That's it, right? We've already talked about it. Monarch is kind of where it's at right now. We're just doing rapid fire stuff. You can home in, build up its like charge thing, which is basically mod power. So it's affected by mod power reduction, mod power generation stuff, things like that. So you can play around with that so you can get the 20% damage bonus a little bit more frequently. But you have to use the homing portion of it first if you want to build it up without using some other mod thing. So what we're gonna do is activate this. We're gonna hit him with this so we can start charging that up. Roll. Make sure we're doing nice little dodges to avoid him. Now you gotta be careful. We almost got messed up there because we didn't have we got locked in an animation for a second. You can quick kind of cancel roll the end of it if you like kind of mash it, right? So that is something you know, keep in mind. Now we're gonna wait to use our rampage until we're at a good spot where he's like finished his attack chain like that. Now we activate it, and then we can start unloading a bunch and hopefully trigger the berserk. There we are. Come on. There we go. We actually need to hit him with one of these. Oops, I messed it up. Oh, good tie frames. That worked out for us, I guess. Let's get it built up. Get our freaking influence built up so we get that damage bonus again. Boom, there we go. Now we can go back to standard fire so we're doing as much damage as possible. Roll forward, and then we activate this. So we're back to infinite ammo, fire rate, and stuff. Definitely try and reload kind of while we have it like active so we get some value out of that infinite ammo. And there we go. Good to go. Not too bad, not too bad. Now the cool thing about Monarch is up to this point, you know, I've taken on a few bosses at this point with it. And the cool thing is you can use this like homing thing to kind of arc around corners. Oops. So that you can basically avoid like bad effects and then be pretty safe, right? I want to reload now, so I go ahead and get that infinite ammo value. So, like, I was fighting the Sentinel's Eye, or Custodian's Eye, that's what it is. And, you know, he does big laser beam things, he shifts the arena and stuff, makes some columns, all that kind of stuff. And you can mark him with the harpoon, and then sit behind a column and just arc some shots from around different places. You can do that with other enemies, other bosses. It's really satisfying. Now, the ideal rotation for, like, our combat with our setup right now, we'll go something like using Bulletstorm first to give us a little bit of infinite ammo, faster fire rate, things like that. And then we'll also use the chain of command so we can start building up the influence. And then by the time Bulletstorm actually ends, or the infinite ammo aspect of it goes away, this one will trigger so that we've got infinite ammo again, and we're doing more damage. And then by the time all that's over, we can use our Rampage. And then when Rampage is over, we'll be ready to use our Bulletstorm because, you know, all the critical hits for the Sapphire Dreamstone will have like recharged each other. Now, unfortunately, there was just one dude there, so we didn't really charge up shit. And so it's not going to flow the way we want it to. But in a perfect world, that's kind of what would happen, right? He thought he could just hide. Uh-oh. There we go. And then we just shoot around the corner. Isn't that fun? Now we can use Berserk, too. So we've got infinite ammo while we're shooting in Berserk. Oh, messing up some of the dodges. Reload it now. Come on. Oh, lordy. These guys are... I haven't had to shoot this against a lot of flying enemies, actually. And the kind of floaty, drifty nature of the projectiles makes it a little funky for me. Uh-oh. Chop. I mean, that's such a nice thing about the Cost of Betrayal, is it's just all your damage is enhanced. I do like that a lot, because there's so many other amulets and things I use that ultimately end up only affecting one thing. So if I end up using melee or ranged or some other aspect of the build that isn't enhanced by it, it doesn't feel nearly as good, right? There we go. Whoop. There we go. Come on. Oh no, don't dodge. Oh, he dodged. I thought he was gonna dodge earlier, so I like just locked in the like motions in my head. Alright, let's take on this dude and call it good. Now, we will actually use the rune pistol on this one, because if he summons any shades, we can bring them down, and that will give us some health. But we're going to just activate the mod ability and then go from there. So let's go ahead and go here. We actually need to charge up our influence. Never mind. Roll away. Roll away. Shoot my way over there so we can focus on that dude. Ooh, lots of hits there, unfortunately. Holy shit. Now, unfortunately, I'm nowhere near those little shade things. So I got to sprint to get over there. And now they're going to heal me. Nice. Get you going. All right. Of course. Oh. Oh, can I please hit the guy? Oh, it's still homed in on the dude. Oh, I didn't realize that. That's really unfortunate. Come on. Lots of rapid fire. Let's go ahead and hit one of them. There we go. Come on. Let's go. Bullet storm now. Oh, of course. Keeping an eye on the dude in the corner once he throws a projectile, right? There we are. Come on. Ugh, thank you. Ooh. I don't think I've ever had him summon so many dudes so many times. Boy. Might have been better if we could have gotten some weak spot hits on him, but it's whatever. We did it. But at any rate, that's pretty much the build. It's not really anything else to really show for the, Cost of Betrayal, other than me just using it on other builds, which is just going to be showing other builds using the Cost of Betrayal. I don't know. It won't be that exciting, right? But it is interesting, and I've actually enjoyed using it. It's been kind of nice. Forces me to think and play around a different way, right? And then also, just messing with Monarch has been quite a bit of fun as well. I've really enjoyed that one. But hey, thank you guys for watching. I always really appreciate it, Hope you got to see some different things, got you to think about some other stuff that you could maybe try out, or maybe these are the things that you have and you're like, oh wow, I never thought about using them that way, because that's generally all we're trying to do here, is just try different things in different ways, because I mean that's what the game's for. I mean, you can use whatever you want, dude. Use whatever you want, combine it in whatever way you want, and it's gonna be okay. Like, I've put a lot of hours into this game. You can use whatever you want and win. So you got it, man. But hey, until the next one, take care.